Jack from Better Off Damned with special guest Josh. We went to a hell house tonight in Lamarck, Texas, at the Abundant Life Church. They conveniently told us after we paid that we couldn't film there, so we had to go in through it without the camera. And so, since we don't have any footage, we're just going to tell you about what happened.
Yeah, originally we were going to kind of heckle them.
Yeah.
That was going to be what we were going to do in the video. We were going to heckle a hell house. But we decided since we weren't filming, we'll just kind of scope it out so, you know, we have something to report
One
back.
of their rules was no talking, too.
Yeah, that wouldn't have stopped me, though, if we had the camera on.
No, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they did a guided tour. They had, like, a staff member, like, walk through with you, I guess.
It was not
To
what I
avoid
expected at all.
shenanigans.
No.
It was our hell tour guide.
Oh, is that what it was supposed to be?
Yeah,
that was
had-
our tour guide.
We had like 5
Virgil.
hell tour guides following us everywhere we went to.
Yeah. We're how many people were in our group besides us during the walkthrough?
I'd say 11 or 12.
Yeah,
besides
11
us.
or 12? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how many, at least like 4 of them were like church. Like,
Yeah,
staff
the
members.
2 older guys and
The young black guy.
yeah.
Those were the staff members in the group. One in front of us, one behind us, and one like in the middle.
Basically, yeah.
Anyway, this particular hell house didn't fit the stereotype. A lot of the things you see in a lot of them were kind of missing.
There was definitely not enough butt sex.
There was not enough butt sex. There was no abortion scenario. What else? Didn't
They
have?
lacked
Did
the
they
black
have,
guy and white woman that you expect to see in these things, though.
Right. Did they have a homosexual scenario? I don't
They
know.
had
Yeah,
the guy that
the-
got called a queer.
No, well, what it
Yeah.
was is
That's
the ones it was what, the second room.
Yeah, the second
It
room,
was the second room is where they had this. When you walked in, this one black guy was laying on the ground, and this Hispanic girl was in the tub, and their wrists were like chained together with like probably like 10, 11 feet worth of chain.
Plastic chain.
Yeah, it was like plastic chain, and they like were arguing about whose fault it was that they had AIDS, and AIDS is why they were in hell.
Yeah, that's what I found the strangest is they called him a queer.
Well,
and
they
she
said
called,
he had boyfriends.
And, well,
and
she
all
called him a
girlfriends.
queer several
Yeah.
times, and he
Yeah.
called her a whore,
Yeah.
and he
Wife.
choked her. But what got them into hell was a disease that they didn't
Yeah.
intend to get.
Yeah, because I was listening for a while and I kept like, wait, are they getting at like, okay, they're talking about the AIDS, but is it actually promiscuity that they're talking about something? No, they're talking about the AIDS. Something.
Yeah, they literally were saying that
If
getting
you have AIDS, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
So don't be African.
Do not be born in Africa. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. You accidentally step on a hypodermic needle, you're going to hell.
Oh yeah, they said something about
Someone
needle
shoots
sharing
on you,
needles.
they get
Yeah.
AIDS, they give it to you,
They
you're going
covered
to hell.
all 3 ways
They
they
might
could
be
possibly
too.
get AIDS.
They might be.
Well, all of 3 prominent ways you could get AIDS. They did all 3, so they were really pushing their luck anyway. I think they deserved
Yeah.
it.
It was
Another observation, the fucking guns.
Yeah, they had
Oh,
blank
oh,
guns like in there, and it was like so fucking loud. But
Yeah, they were shooting real guns with blanks.
yeah,
That was
And like every room, like that was their version of hell is like
you
they
get
shoot
shot a
you.
lot,
In
Yeah,
hell,
they
guns
shoot
are
you
more
on
readily
that.
available than they are on the streets today.
right?
yeah.
There was one
So-
scenario, the guy like basically like he just kept killing him and bringing him back to life, shooting him in the head.
Yeah, and that was
with a gun.
Judas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judas. They
Judas
just kept
is a
shooting
teenage
Judas in the
kid.
head.
Yeah, denounce your God. No, denounce your God, or I'm going to shoot you in the head. Okay, I don't believe in Jesus or God. I lied. Bang.
That was
All right, Judas, get up, and he gets up, and it's like, what the fuck?
Now
So
you're
in hell, you're just going to get shot a lot, guys.
Yeah.
It's the same room as every room.
Twisted.
Yeah. Every single room is the
Oh,
same.
my ears hurt so. Was that like you think their version of scare tactics? Since
That
it was
was-
just scenarios and like no
Yeah.
real like people popping out.
Yeah, there was no people popping out going
They just
boo.
used gunshots to try to get.
Well, no, there was the little girl that offered us a prosthetic hand. So prosthetic hands
What?
are
I
back
missed
too.
that. She must have been
Yeah,
short.
no, it was right after the first room. Like when you walked out, the room with all the random teenage girls in fishnet stockings.
Oh, yeah, the
I
first
like that
room.
room.
Yeah.
I like that room.
The first room was like these girls are like dancing around. This one falls down and throws up on the floor. It's like, make it stop. Oh God, make it stop. The party never ends. I'm like, that doesn't sound bad. A never-ending party. That
All I
sounds
did was
wonderful.
party. Now I'm in hell and the party
Party
never
never
ends. It was
So don't be a
ridiculous.
teenage girl, and don't be a raver, and don't have bad digestion.
Oh
That's
yeah,
the real
she like barfed up right at the beginning onto the floor in front of us. That was
probably
was
wasn't
my second
planned.
favorite.
I don't know
part.
what they used for that. I stuck my finger in it.
It was there before they even like started. It was just
Really?
it was spot on the ground.
Yeah, and she was just pretending that they already had
Nothing
it.
came out of her
So that was
mouth.
the last one in, and
But
so I
something
thought she
called-
was.
I stuck my finger in it. I didn't want to taste it though, because I don't know what they were using.
It was probably real vomit. She probably had to vomit the first time.
She was
Oh,
pregnant.
I see.
But they didn't want. Yeah, they didn't. Secret tidbit about the character. She was actually.
And then
pregnant.
the one room with the chick and the shotgun. What was
That
that?
didn't
about?
make any sense.
It made no sense whatsoever.
All
It's like
It was some
You're my
kind of
husband, I
domestic
disagree
violence
with you.
scenario. or
I
something.
guess.
Literally, all it was like a coffee table, a TV, and like
Well,
a woman
see
was
what they were
standing on the
watching.
coffee table. And when we walked in, she shot him, and he fell over and then got back up. That's another.
yeah, it was
thing.
like apparently he was like abusive, and she like the story was like he was abusive. She shot him, but since he was abusive, they both went to hell.
Yeah.
Well, no, they didn't believe in God or something.
They were probably he was probably abusive to her because they were watching like bad American Idol results or something.
Right, and then that one girl that's like, I almost believed that one
Yeah.
room.
Yeah, I blame.
Don't
Honey
almost do it.
You gotta
Right.
hand it to them on their really good AV technology with like the split screen.
Yeah,
During
like
the projection.
the image on the projector screens is like split, where the bottom was on the top and the top was on the bottom. There's just a line in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's like
I don't
apparently
think
in
that was
hell they
intentional.
use Windows 95.
Yeah, and
Oh,
at the end of another one, it just kind of went back to like the select screen of the little program
That was
that
what
they
was the-
used.
Yeah.
Was
that I
that
almost
supposed to be a
believed.
suicide scenario? The one with the
Yeah,
Spanish girl?
I think
she was
so.
talking in Spanish. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
The second half of
Well,
what
she
was
had to
saying.
explain it for the people in there that didn't speak Spanish.
So
She
the
had to go
video
through
was
it in
supposed to be
Spanish.
like her suicide note, and
Yeah.
then she came into the room.
Yeah,
had to
apparently
explain it
that
and dictate
bang
it.
was her killing herself or something.
Oh god.
Yeah.
It didn't make much sense.
That's the thing is, these were just like plastic walls that they had hung from the ceiling.
Yeah, like
It was
plastic
like cut
sheets.
up trash bags.
And so you could hear the gunshots and all of the other little skits that other people were going through. And that was just, I mean, the gunshots were the scariest part of the whole thing, really.
You mean
There
the
was
most
nothing
startling part,
there was
not really
nothing,
the
well, there was
scariest.
nothing really scary to
Yeah.
it at all.
Yeah, there was a Muslim chick in there.
There was a
There was a
woman
what?
with like a crystal ball.
Oh yeah, and they
Yeah.
actually had like tarot cards from like Books A Million or Barnes and Noble sitting there. But I'm like, wait, isn't just the actual cards themselves not good to have? I mean, someone had to pay for them, and they're paying these
Yeah.
pagans to
Well,
keep
I think
making
they
these
did
cards.
some good old Christian shoplifting.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I guess, it goes both ways. You want to condemn something, you kind of have to fork out. Like, we gave them $3 a piece to do this. So.
Only because we were under the impression we would get to film, and then after we paid, they made a point to tell us
Yeah,
we can't
because,
film.
I walked right up, and my camera rig, I mean, you can't see it because we're using it. It's not subtle.
Get a
you
mirror
know,
and show them.
We're going to get some hidden cameras for this in the future, but it's not subtle, and I had that on me the whole time, and you forked over the money, and then suddenly, you can't film in there, right? After we were standing there for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
It
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I almost wanted to leave after that, but we got a lot of good laughs. We got a lot of thought-provoking material.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing, what did meet expectations, what a lot of these hell houses do, and what they did here, is the last room they walk you into is a little church room.
To pray
and
for
they
her.
close the door behind you, and you have a preacher preaching at you.
Well, the first guy wasn't the preacher. He was the guy playing St. Peter. And he
Oh,
was
right,
sticking
right.
to a script. That's why he didn't
the
acknowledge
woman
it.
that followed.
The
was
woman
the
that
preacher.
followed was a preacher.
Yeah, because at that point, since the tour was over and they were just starting to get preachy, I started to start asking questions in the middle of what they were saying, and he wasn't responding. So
Yeah, he was a
that's
character.
kind of when I was like, oh, he's still a character. And then when the woman started preaching, it's like, okay, see, now she's answering things I'm asking.
Yeah.
And basically, I just to kind of get us into a conversation, I took the position of basically.
Saying you got tricked.
Yeah, pretending that I didn't know. I was just like, I thought this was a haunted house. How'd we end up in church?
Right.
I was acting confused.
My favorite thing about that room was the 5 flat screen TVs on every wall.
Right? It's like, why do they need so many flat screen TVs in a church?
That was a
service?
small
Well, that's 'cause
room.
Jesus is against
that
wealth.
little bedroom here in this apartment was probably
No, it was probably about it was bigger than that.
Yeah.
not much.
I think it was maybe 3/4 of this living room.
Okay, well, whatever. It wasn't a big room.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, I started questioning things they were saying at that point. They're like, wait, but why don't you guys come out with us and talk with us? And like brought us into like a room with like the pool tables, and like basically we ended up pretty much debating them, except
they weren't really debating back.
Yeah, the one big dude that was like talking to Jay. You should tell him about what he was doing. It
yeah,
was funny.
because basically I was leaning against the pool table. We were all talking, and
he sent us away. And I started talking to another guy.
Yeah, they started talking to these other pastors or staff members there or whatever, and this one kid was like, basically, like, you know, he kept pushing up against the pool table. He's like, no, I'm going to tell you what God's telling me about you.
Yeah.
And he's basically, like, he ends up cold reading me, and that he doesn't know what he's doing, and I tell him he's cold reading me, and he gets confused.
Well, but let's not...
But he was basically saying, you know, like, God's telling me this about your life, like, I see pain, I see this, I'm like, miss. You know, and he's basically just throwing out all these little things that could fit most people.
Yeah.
You know, and he's trying to tell me that God's showing him this about me and all that. You know,
it was very reminiscent of the Kroger parking lot when that one guy came up to me. He's like, Jesus is telling me to come talk to you. And I'm like, no thanks, I'm an atheist. He's like, Jesus must have made a mistake, and like walks away.
What?
Well, Jesus can't make mistakes. He's God, and he's also not God. So
yeah,
you can't forget that.
Yeah.
He is, but he isn't.
And then that one guy that pulled us aside, and that was like praying for us.
Oh my God! Yeah, he was like, "You guys said we could pray for you, so let's kneel over." And he like kind of like grabbed us, and he started pretending to talk and to speak in tongues. Yeah, and he like grabbed me while he was doing it, and I was kind of freaked out. I was like, "Please don't do that." No.
He's like grabbing your boob.
Yeah, so we put it on you instead.
What did he grab your chest?
No, well, he put it like kind of like shouldery chest. Yeah, it was really weird. He like kind of was like, "You guys said we could pray for you, so we're gonna pray for you. Everybody get together." And it was me, you, and Josh in this configuration with him right here, and he just kind of like had us, and it was weird. And he started, and he like grabbed me.
Make a high, make a honey.
Yeah, I was tempted to tell. I mean, I was trying to get you to like speak in tongues too, just to make fun of him. But I was just like,
I should have just went with it and like started rolling on the floor and all that other stuff, so they really think.
Yeah, because you can still do that stuff.
Yeah, next time we go to a church, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to start. We should make that into like a video series. Me talking in tongues, an atheist talking in tongues in churches.
Right.
I think that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Which churches?
There's no lack of them around.
Yeah. Churches.
The chicken place.
It's pretty decent chicken if they didn't like donate so much money.
Yeah, they offered us free coffee at the end.
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
They have a Starbucks coffee in their church.
And I'm like, how do you guys?
And full table.
That's a good thing to be spending your church money on. They kept telling us about all these Africans that they had gone and helped, and then they told us about the free.
No, it was in Guatemala because they said, this guy's like, man, before Christ I did this, and this is the guy that prayed for us, but now that I found Christ, man, I live in a mansion, my wife is hot, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, he gives you a mansion, he makes your wife hot, but yet he lets a little boy in like Ethiopia starve to death in his first year of life.
Yeah, and then he starts talking about, that's a great thing. We're going and we're trying to help them. And like no. We're talking about your relationship to God. Now we're talking about their relationship to God. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're doing for them. Mm-hmm. It's like, why is God giving you a mansion? Yet they love God too, and they're starving to death.
Yeah, with flies in their eyes and their nose and their mouth.
Yeah, but that's basically what a lot of the conversation was, because it turned into a pretty typical, like, 101, like, atheist versus theist debate.
Yeah, they were like, go Bible, but God.
It was a lot of moving the goalposts and all that. That one guy annoyed me, because he was all talking about, like, how... Like, oh, you don't understand. Before I found Jesus, I used to be on drugs, all this, and he was painting this very sad picture. And I asked him about it like later on.
We went outside.
This is when we were just outside, and there was none of the other church people.
Yeah, suddenly it was just him and us because he decided to walk us to the car. None of the other church members were there, and he's like, "No, you don't understand." I don't remember what it was I said.
You said, oh, well, it was so bad before. He's like, no, I didn't say I didn't like the drugs and the women. That stuff was great.
Yeah, I was a pro skater back then.
A semi-pro snowboarder.
Yeah, that's right. And he's like suddenly changing the whole story.
Yeah, apparently
it's like,
he loves
so you came to Jesus, you gave up the drugs, but they weren't hindering you before. You just smoked a little weed, you were doing well, you weren't living in the gutter. Like, he made it sound like that's what his life was.
Yeah, he was telling, I remember
and it's like, okay, so you believe in Jesus now and you decided to stop smoking weed. Like,
yeah.
Really? That's it?
Because inside he explicitly said, I remember the night I found Jesus, I was just laying there all screwed up on my brother's couch. and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you were a semi-pro snowboarder, but you had to like crash with your brother because you were all.
He basically denied that.
Yeah,
as a
but
part
all
of it,
most
though,
all
later.
semi-pro snowboarders are broke. It's kind of like semi-pro skateboarder.
Or semi-crack.
Without being pro, you don't have much money doing those things. It's like a
That's
it's like a
not
semi-pro
it.
He
surfer.
sure made his
It
life
was his
sound pretty
perception
awesome.
of his
After
life.
God, yeah.
Yeah, before and after when the other staffers were there, and then when it was just us, he just
Changed
his
the story.
perception of his life before he
Yeah.
found Jesus was
He
entirely
was like, oh no,
different.
I was actually a lot happier than I led you to believe whenever I didn't have a
But that's the
chance."
whole thing. The black guy with the dreads that was talking to me, like he pulled the same thing. A lot of them there were pulling the whole, well, I used to be an atheist type thing.
No, you
And
didn't.
it's
Yeah,
like,
that was it.
You know what? I don't know whether you're making that up or not, but even so, you might have been some de facto atheist.
Yeah.
But it's very different from being an informed one.
All that
You
is
know.
I believe it's ad hoc proctor hoc, and it's just like ad hoc proctor hoc. It's the fallacy where the mom's like, "Did you make it home safe, dear?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, I did." And she's like, "Good, I prayed for you. That's proof." It's
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's,
they were
it's
doing a lot
It's
of
also like denying the antecedent, or I might be mistaking that with another fallacy, but that's just another really common.
Yeah, because
one to
it
see.
kept going back to, you know, I kept really pushing the whole, because they kept going to the Bible for everything, which is typical, right? And I kept saying, well, how do you know that the Bible's true or authoritative? And the
Because
only
in the
thing they kept
Bible-
saying, well, Jesus came in my heart. They said that so many times, and always with that exact wording, Jesus came in my heart.
Never even into, never went, never
Or onto.
gone. He always.
Yeah, it
and
didn't
you
matter
have to-
what tense the sentence was.
Yeah,
It
you-
was always, Jesus came in my heart.
Yeah, or Jesus. I asked Jesus to come in my heart.
And he
Yeah.
did.
That's God.
He had
That's
to put
not
his
what that's
godly
supposed to
seed
Do
in
you
come
there.
not realize what you're saying? God.
Some of them probably don't. The
One of
others
us should have
probably
just
don't.
snickered. You know,
I did.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think they heard you though. I think one of us
like
should have just
twice.
like done the whole like Beavis and Butthead and did different things. He said, yeah.
They do. God, that's.
But you know what? A recollection of it's one thing. It would have been an interesting conversation to have had on camera.
Yeah. Though overall, I thought the whole thing was kind of weak.
Yeah.
It
Like
was,
the Hell
and,
House
you know,
itself
the
and like
thing is,
everything was
the
really
way
weak.
they presented the last room was almost as if they're talking to all atheists.
Yeah.
You know, they presented it like it was all about conversion. We're trying to bring people that don't know Jesus to Jesus. And then when they start talking to us afterwards, they're barely trying. Like, the more we contradict things, the more questions we ask, you know, one by one, they drop
Yeah,
off.
they go away.
Like, literally, like, we might have been talking to people for a full 20 minutes, but we started out talking to, like, probably 7 people.
Yeah, and then they all
one by
filtered
one,
away.
like, especially when they took us aside and we'd be having individual conversations, like the guy with the dreads that was trying to cold read me, and I started explaining to him what he's doing, and so he changed from trying to tell me about my life to asking me about my life, which obviously would have later transitioned into, like, saying he told me that about myself. But he's asking me questions about my life, and like one of them is like, well, how old are you anyway? And it's like 26, and he's like, oh, I'm only 19, and that's how I ended the conversation. I was just like, well, you'll learn more as you grow, kid, and then I walked away. But he basically left after that.
He
And,
felt
you know,
dissed. I noticed he grabbed the other guy that he was with, and they left right after.
Yeah, but it was just funny to me that, like, that supposedly, the way they presented it, was the whole point of the thing, is to try and convert people, try to bring people to Christ, and, like, literally, like, within minutes of talking to us, each of them like would just like throw their hands up and kind of like just
I'll
trot
pray for
off
you.
or yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, like it was a very short conversation. It might have been shorter than I'm even perceiving it, just because everything seems
It's like almost 5, between 5 and 10 minutes.
Really? See, it felt like 20 to me, but that's why I'm questioning myself because like when I was little, it doesn't matter. Everything church related seems like it's forever to me. You know, so
5,
even
10
when we're
minutes,
having fun
The black guy was
contradicting
talking
them,
to him.
but
Oh yeah.
you know,
Well, you should eat more salt then.
I should eat more.
Oh yeah, that was
You should
another
eat more
funny
salt.
thing. He spoke. Josh here was talking for like a minute and a half to this one, like I guess it was a youth minister or something.
I mean,
And he was talking about how he was raised to worship salt.
yeah. I mean, I've
Respect
always
like that.
had salt as a very big part of my life. It's in everything I eat. It's a part of me. It's a part of you. It's all around us. I mean, you just can't live without salt. There's no reality without
It
it.
binds us together.
Yeah.
It penetrates us.
Yeah,
It's like the
salt.
Force.
Yes.
Well, it's better than the Force because you can taste it.
You can face the force.
The force does
You
not
just have to suck
taste
until it
salty.
hose.
Yeah. Actually, we went to this haunted house because of a tip from one of our YouTube subscribers.
Which one was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember the username right now. I know who I'm talking about, though. Like, I know the face and everything. But she used to go to this church all the time. This was her church, and she suggested this church to us because we were going to go to one more local than that, but there weren't any this year. I need to go back and ask her if they were ever different than they are now, because the thing is, I have read that some of these churches will change their scenarios a little bit to be a little less controversial, but they're doing the same thing. They're still trying to scare you with hell.
I think the
and all
scariest
that.
part was
But
the
some of them
YOLO
are
on
taking
the
out
gangster wall.
like the abortion stuff and some of the more controversial scenarios so that they could still sort of get away with it. But, you know, I thought it was very strange, some of it, like, you know, the guns and stuff, you know.
There would not be that many
Is that-
guns in
do you
hell.
think that's why the police were stationed outside? Is 'cause
And the fire marshals?
yeah, it was very
Maybe.
strange
I don't know. I thought it was
that
weird that they had so many
authorities
state
there.
officials there.
Yeah.
That was very unusual.
Well,
I
think
understand though
the
because they have
gypsy was
blanks, and I guess they have to have people there for emergency situations.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
like
guess
any
so.
haunted house. There's at least a couple of cops like
Yeah.
driving.
That's true. I've worked in several haunted houses, so. But yeah, that annoyed me on a personal note. Has nothing to do with why we were there or anything. But my God, I've done special effects makeup at a few haunted houses, and like they weren't even trying there.
It still pissed me off that they waited till after we paid to tell us we couldn't film.
Yeah, because there was no way they didn't see the camera or nothing. I was
Yeah.
holding it, you know.
And it was one of the cops that said something, not a church goer.
Because that's the whole thing. If you're not going to film something covertly, you might as well be obvious about it. That way they can't say they didn't know or that you tried to sneak it in. Like, that's what I do. I just take the camera and I'm obvious and confident about it. If there's no way to hide it, that's what I do. And, like, they totally just waited till they had the money to say that. You know, until, like, the three of you were already in line, you know, with a place saved for me after I returned the camera to the car, you know.
I just wish we could have gotten coffee from there. I mean, that
Yeah.
Starbucks in there
Yeah,
was pretty bad.
the Abundant Life Church was the big building we passed on the way to this. This is like their little, I guess they're like kids learning center or some shit that they used. And it kind of looked like mega churchy.
Yeah, it was
It's
huge.
called the Abundant Life,
It's a mega
and
church.
it's in Lamarck, Texas. I'm pretty sure it's a mega church. It looked
Yeah,
really
it
fucking
had a
huge.
lot of
They have a
property.
Starbucks inside. You can't have a church with a Starbucks inside that you give away free Starbucks coffee with like Starbucks workers inside without
Well, see,
being
that's
a
the
mega
thing.
church.
That made it all the more annoying that their little setup had no production value.
Right? You got
I mean,
the money.
really, and it's like these people think they're doing it for the Lord. It's like, really, you can't spend a little more time than that? You take in enough money.
And apparently God needs money. That was
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one. Yeah. God
Well, no,
needs
it's
money.
not God that needs money. It's his
It's the
pastors
gospel.
and the
No, it's the
gospel.
gospels need the money to be able to
gospels
spread
themselves
across
need
the
the money.
world. But it's like you have the internet now. You can spread them for free.
Yeah, it definitely didn't meet expectations. There wasn't much to really even throw a fit about besides the whole, like, pretty much they threaten hell every Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, so it's no different that it's just theatrical, you know, but, you know, I don't know.
They honestly didn't even put up a fight in like the talking afterwards.
The
either.
debate could have been interesting
It
because
was
the
like-
second, like, we were out of, like, the hell scenarios, we did start to challenge them, and, like, it was so, like, 101 stuff, and, like, they were getting really confused by, like, the simplest things we argue with people on Facebook and YouTube about, you know, but, yeah.
They're not used to people questioning them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, alright, I don't think there's much more to say. We'll bring you guys some actual content soon, hopefully. Alright, take care, guys.
Goodbye.